Hi, and welcome everybody to my worst ever show where I, myself, the host, Kevin O'Reilly, bring people on, normally to speak about interviews and their worst interview. But today we're going to do something very different. We're going to talk about my worst day ever in the hope that you will take something away and learn something from my worst day. We're hopefully going to have lots of other people and individuals coming on and talking about their worst day. And we will take lots of learnings away from them. But I can't do this by myself, so I'm going to need a little bit of help and a little bit of support. And I brought my friend on, Pete Lonton, who's going to be our co-host. He is going to do what I normally do. He's going to make me feel awkward and uncomfortable. Pete, thank you very much for doing this for me.
Listen, thank you. Thank you for having me along. And I tip my hat to you because it's a brave thing to do this, and but I also think it's going to be incredibly powerful, incredibly raw. So listen, this I think is the start of a great journey. So well done you.
Well, thank you very much. And it's probably your fault, Pete. I'm sitting here right now, to be completely honest. Pete and I have a love-hate relationship. Pete is a mentor and a friend and coach of mine, and he really challenges me to be more and really, really calls me out in all the crap, which, as I'm sure everybody who listens and watches knows, sometimes we need that. We need someone to call us out on our crap.
Yeah.
So thank you, Pete.
Listen, always a pleasure. I'm going to take all the compliments. So yeah, well done you. So listen, that's great. Let's get stuck in.
Indeed, Pete, indeed. So I'm going to hand the reins to you, and I will be the guest and see how that feels.
We'll start off. What is the title of your talk? If we were to sort of try and give it a heading, what would it be? What are people going to expect in the
Oh,
forthcoming?
well, very simply, it would be my worst day ever.
Hmm.
Very simply.
Okay.
There's days that we have in life which are bad days, hard moments. But this is by far the worst day I've ever had.
When was this?
This was the 26th of September, 2014.
Okay. So we're 11 years away.
Hmm.
Okay. Where were you?
I was sitting in my I was sitting in my living room in Belfast. I remember sitting on the settee, just sort of looking out the front window. And where I lived, you could see the Cave Hill, the Napoleon's Nose, through my front window, which was really lovely. So I remember sitting there, just sort of in a daze, just sort of looking out the window,
Hmm.
enjoying the view, but in a bit of a daze.
Hmm. And tell me, just to put it into context, your worst day, what was this a mental thing for you, a physical? What were the feelings? What was coming on for you?
A bit of everything, actually. It was very mental, and it was then led into that sort of physical pain as well. So there was lots going on. There was lots of thoughts, and actually, probably like everybody else, they don't expect this certain thing to be the worst ever because it's nothing you ever or should ever have to think about.
Yeah.
And it was something I hadn't planned for. It was something I didn't even give a second thought to. And it was something that in all of my preparation, I never give it a second thought at all.
Hmm. Hmm. Talk to us. How did that day start out?
How did that day start out? Uh, with very little sleep. That's how that day started out. The day started out with me in a bit of a daze, running down to Undertaker's, being almost chauffeured around because I was in so much of a daze. A daze is probably the best word to describe it. It was a daze, not knowing what I was doing, where I was going, or anything past that moment.
Hmm.
I didn't know actually what to do. So I had a lot of family around me who were very, very helpful, very, very good and helpful. And they sort of got around me and supported me through it.
Hmm. How conscious were you? I mean, were you aware of what's going on? Was it like a blur, a daze?
No, it's just a daze. I can very vividly remember sitting on the settee. Prior to that, and maybe a couple of hours after that, most of it was a daze. Everything was
Mhm.
sort of happening to me, and I was just there, involved in it. I wasn't actually thinking, or yeah, I wasn't thinking to do. I was just doing because that was part of the process that was happening.
Hmm. Almost sounds like a bit of an out of body experience that you're talking about.
Well, when I look at it now, I feel like I'm seeing that out of body experience. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a very, very surreal moment. Very surreal moment.
And as we go through, I mean, life is not quite Instagram, right? Life is life. It's
Oh yeah.
it's messy, it's dirty, it's all the rest, and some things break us, some things bend us, and if we're lucky, some things build us, but also it does change us, right? And I take it this day changed you.
Um, Forever. Actually, I had two really powerful days in a row, but it was the second day that I had not prepared for nor expected, and it probably changed me more so because I had been preparing for the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was coming. I didn't know when it was coming, but I was preparing for the day before. And I was doing
Yeah.
that through professional help, and I was doing that through talking, and I was doing that through lots of support, but I didn't expect or plan for the very next day, which ended up being the worst day ever.
Mm-hmm. And how did that manifest in you? What would someone have seen from the outside? Because obviously you're saying it's almost the days and the confusion from your side, but someone else looking in, what would they have seen?
Mm, Emotionless is probably a good way of describing it. Confused, lost. Those are words that come to mind when I think about that and think about back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like completely lost, didn't know what to do, didn't know who to speak to. I don't think I had the words.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
very, very quiet, actually, which is, if you know me, which is very unlike me.
Mm-hmm. But then I suppose when we get situations that we're not used to, right? We sort of, well, you tell me, do we go inwards? Are we in shock, trauma? What is going on?
Well, what I tend to find for my own clients and for anybody else that I see, they go one of two ways. They go extremely over the top, loud, and outrageous, or they can go straight inside themselves and they shut down. And for the majority of the time, I see people who just shut down. And I think I was in that process of shutting down because I didn't know, but I couldn't shut down. I just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
shut down because there was things that needed to be done, and I had children to manage in mind. So I couldn't actually reduce myself to shutting down.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't or didn't want to?
Both, both. I could have very easily. I didn't want to. There was too much that needed to be done, and yeah, there was people more important to me at that time.
Hmm. Because it sounds like we have this contrast on one side we have what's for breakfast, what's for lunch, what's for dinner,
Hmm.
and then on the other side we have events that are just not your day-to-day standard, right? It is
Yeah,
literally your worst day ever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And is that what disassociates or disconnects us from ourselves? Is that where the trauma comes from, do you think?
I think it's easier disconnecting. In my case, it was easier disconnecting because the pain was so raw that it was easier to disconnect from it. You hear lots of people who have been held hostage or tortured, always saying that they go to a different place in their mind, which stops that physical pain from getting there. And
Mm-hmm.
some undercover agents are trained in removing the pain by going to a different place in their mind, into their safe place. That is that is almost how it felt, but I couldn't do that because I had to be there. I had to be there in the room. I had to be present, so I couldn't even disassociate myself from the pain.
Hmm. Take us through then. What happened?
Well, I think 2011, my brother, his wife, my niece and nephew, and my wife and two kids, we all went up to Donegal and rented a house up in Donegal. And my wife at the time wasn't feeling great, but we went for a walk. And when we went for a walk up this hill, she started to throw up. And when she started to throw up, there was just something about it. The violent way she threw up was just not normal. So we took her to Altnagadden Hospital, and she was kept in overnight. And
Did she
then,
feel unwell, or was there any indications
yeah,
here?
yeah, she felt unwell for quite some time. It was passed off as ABS, not ABS, IBS. So it was passed off as IBS for quite a period of time. Stomach pains, menstrual cycles, severe menstrual cycle pain, etc. But she was 31 at the time, and I remember having a phone call with her saying, "You need to come down to the hospital. The doctors want to talk to us." And I thought, right, okay, whatever the case might be, it might be just something that maybe a quick operation. She's hurt herself. She's done something. It'll all be good. And when we get down, they brought us into sort of a side room and said that they had found a mass. And I didn't understand. I was still very, very confused. Didn't understand what that meant. And then I said, "Listen, I don't understand what you mean. What do you mean a mass?" And they said, "It's cancerous. It's a cancerous mass." And I said, "What?" And I was completely confused because I didn't understand. I said, "What do you mean a cancerous mass? So we just take it out and that's it. We're good." And they said, "No, it's actually it's at stage 4 right now." And for those who don't know what the sort of stages are, stage 1 is okay, but it goes to stage 4. So there's only one, two, three, four. And stage 4 is life-threatening, severe. And she was at stage 4 when she was diagnosed. So we didn't know what to expect. Lots of tears from her and I, and we then we had to take her from there because she couldn't even. They didn't even have an ambulance available, so I had to take her from Altnagadden and drive down to, I think it was the city hospital, if my memory serves me right. It was either the city or the Royal, and within a couple of, like, a week to 2 weeks, she had been in with a had piece of her bowel removed that had the cancerous mass on. And honestly, I've never seen anybody in so much pain in my life when I walked in after she was brought in from the operation, and she was lying on the bed. And within 20 minutes, the doctors and nurses had got her up to walk around after her whole midsection had been opened up. A large piece of her bowel had been removed, and they said they had to get her up and moving for this to actually heal properly. So they had her up, and there's a song that always plays because I put it. She was in so much pain that I it was horrendous to listen to, that I actually had to put my headphones in and watch when she was doing it. And it was Claire de Lune, that song which you hear at the end of Ocean's 11. And it was just, and I can still see it now. I can still see her and hear the music and watch her as she's trying to walk, but giving a good mouthful to every nurse and doctor in the place. But that wasn't even the end of it. She seemed to heal from that quite nicely. Took a bit of time, obviously, but she seemed to heal from that. And then it went a little bit downhill after that. It kept coming back, and it kept coming back, and it kept coming back in different places, and she had to have different operations along the way. And then she was in and out of hospital for a very, very long time. And we thought she was in remission for a large period of time, and then she didn't feel right, so she went to the city hospital, to the cancer unit, and they literally took us into a room at the side and said, "This is incurable. You have 6 months to live." And that was that. That's exactly how they left it. And her and I broke down in the room, and we sat there for about a half an hour just in tears, not knowing what to do or where to go or who to talk to. And we have two children at that time who were 5 and 6, 4, 5, 5 and 6. So it was very, very, it was a strange time, a very, very strange time. But we didn't tell the children because we didn't want them to be concerned or worried. Plus, I don't think they would have understood at that sort of age.
Mhm.
So 6 months came and went, and she was fine. And she said, "I'm I'm beating this no matter what." So she fought and she fought and she fought and she fought. And it wasn't until nearly the next year, about 18 months later, that she passed away on the 25th of September. But that wasn't the hardest day. That wasn't the worst day because we were expecting that. We knew that. We knew that was coming. We had prepared for that. Both of us had prepared for that professionally and with each other and with for the kids and with the kids. The hardest day that I ever had was the next day because the kids had actually been taken down to my mother's house so they didn't have to watch their mother die. And when they were brought up the next morning, I didn't realize that I was going to have to tell them that their mother had passed away.
Well,
There's, I mean, it's just, it's one of those moments where no matter what happens, nothing will ever top that for me. It's what makes me very grateful for everything that I have. And it makes me very determined to ensure that the people I interact with and my children and everybody that they enjoy what they're doing. But it's definitely changed me as a person because after I had to tell the boys about that, I had to then go and think I am a I'm a widower right now at 34 years of age. Like my life had only really started. We'd only get married a couple of years and we had our children. We'd just moved into a new house a couple of years and we were just starting out on our life and then that happened. But I tell you, it changed me very quickly, very, very quickly. Having to have the strength to do that. And other people, everybody was great and they said that they would do that for me. And I said, no, it has to come from me
hmm. Why did you feel that?
because I'm their father and I needed to show them that even when times are tough, you still need to step up.
That's young for the kids. I mean, did they comprehend? How?
Well, at the stage of when she had passed away, they were 8 and 9. So they could comprehend. Yeah, they could. They just broke down, as did I. And I just held them. And I told them it would be all right. And pretty much every day since, I have made sure it has been.
Hmm. What changed for you that day?
Everything. Me as a person, all my ideas, all my thoughts, my dreams, my future. They pretty much went away for a long time. My dreams and my future, nothing. There was nothing there when I looked into the future.
Mhm.
And it was that it's it's a weird feeling. It's like, most mornings I lay in bed and I could hear the kids rustling around downstairs, and all I wanted to do was just lay in bed and forget that the world ever existed and just lay there. But then I knew I couldn't. I knew I shouldn't. And I got my backside out of bed every single day and just kept putting one foot in front of the other until it became a little bit easier. And then a little bit easier, and then a little bit easier. I think I was in absolute survival mode for quite a few months afterwards. It wasn't even that I was thinking about anything else other than surviving from day to day. That was just me. And then I don't know what happened. Something happened that I realized that I am the sole provider, sole carer, and I needed to get my ass in gear. Or not only will my late wife Sarah's death have taken from us, it will take from their future as well. So I needed to get my ass in gear. Went back to the gym, which I absolutely loved, but had to stop to care for my wife and kids. Went back to the gym, took on a personal trainer, started to eat right, started to think right. And I was never a great reader, but then I was doing the job as I felt of two parents. So I needed to be twice as intelligent, twice as strong, twice as good. So I had to think differently. And that's really what got me through the real tough parts of the the time that I was in, the grieving periods, is just thinking, you gotta get on with this. Life will just leave you behind if you do. If you don't, sorry. You have to get on with it. And that's what I did. I got up, I really took a long, hard look introspectively at myself, tried to find people who could point out my blind spots that I couldn't see, and then do something about it. And now that I think about it, it's probably one of the reasons why I've went into the line of work that I currently do, is that I help people do exactly the same thing. Is find those blind spots and give them solutions, or give them support or guidance or advice, or even direction, or even someone to listen to, because it's always something that is needed.
Can you introduce Sarah to us?
Um, God, I don't know where to start with this. Um, when I met Sarah, God, when did I meet Sarah? A very, very, very long time ago. She was actually going out with a friend of ours a long time ago, and I thought, wow, amazing. She's beautiful. Not a chance. No chance. So it was one of those, I didn't even put it in my mind. It was just like, no chance. Put it to the back of the mind and get on with it. And then I remember, for all the golden oldies here, there used to be a nightclub in Belfast called the M Club. And I used to work in the M Club just as a person lifting glasses. And Sarah worked in the M Club as well. And she worked on the coats. And her and I got chatting, and we got chatting, we got friendly. But again, I thought, way out of my league. Absolutely not a chance. And never even thought to try. Never even thought to try. And nothing ever happened. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years later that I used to work for a sports retailer in Belfast City Centre as an assistant manager. And I was going up to the bakery for a break or lunch. I can't remember which one it was. And next thing, Sarah sort of walked in and we got chatting away. And when we get chatting away, she just sort of continued to talk to me. I was like, right, okay. And we realized that we worked actually opposite each other in Belfast city centre. So pretty much every day our break coincided at the same time. And then when it didn't, I always liked a hot chocolate. So she used to bring me in a hot chocolate into the shop. And then that's when I thought, oh, there might actually be something in this, which I didn't think at the very beginning because I thought way too far out of my league, way too far out of my league. And well, if I'm not sure, Pete, if you remember this show. Do you remember the show that was done with Davina McCall, Street Mate?
Rings a bell, yeah.
Well, she used to go around different towns and she used to just stop people in the street and say, "Hey, are you single?" And they go, "Yes." And then they go, "Would you like to, let's go around and find someone who you'd like to go out with?" And then they'd pay for the going out and so on. Well, Sarah was on Street Mate. So she was on
Okay.
TV, which I didn't know until many, many years later, actually. And yeah, it was it was funny watching it back because it was only after we get married did I realize that she was on Street Mate. So it's really strange watching your wife kiss another guy. It's a real strange thing to watch that. But
Sure.
but yeah, yeah. So she knew what she wanted. She knew what she wanted. That's the one thing about her. And at her funeral, just as the coffin was going down, we had the song "Did It My Way" because she pretty much did. She always did. There was nothing. If she wanted to do something, she just went and done it, which would have been almost the complete opposite of me. I would have had to plan it. I would have had to have worked it out and so on. She'd have just went, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's a very whirlwind explanation of who she was, but I'm hoping that people will get a little bit of an understanding of who she was.
How would you describe her then? 3 words.
Well, her friends nicknamed her Psycho. So it should have been a warning sign for me, but I seen it as a bit of a challenge. I was thinking, there's no way. But yes, I think she was called Psycho because she just did what she wanted. She didn't ask for permission. She just get on with it.
Hmm.
And that's what I loved about her. That's what I loved about her and disliked about her at equal parts. That she just get up and did what she wanted but didn't take anybody else into consideration in that whole thing, even when, even when we had family. But she a free spirit, I think that's probably the best way to describe her.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
lots of fun. Free spirit.
So, what age was she when she passed?
She was 34.
Wow, she's young.
Too young. Way, way, way too young.
So telling your kids what comes back up for you, making it that worst day ever.
It's just the thought of that again. It almost makes me ill to think that I had to do that. I know I didn't have to do that. Somebody else could have done that on my behalf,
Mm.
but I had to do that for me, for them. It wouldn't have been right. And I wanted to show a good example of doing the right thing at a hard time.
Mm.
It's only when I look back on it now did I realize that I was doing that. It was my place as their father to tell them that.
Hmm.
And I wanted to be the one to tell them because I didn't want them to hate the person that told them. And they know that it wouldn't have coming from me. It wasn't meant in a bad way. It was more of an explanation. And I'm not saying that if someone else said it to them that it would be a bad way, but it might not come out or be
Yeah.
received in the manner that it's meant to be. We 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 are not victims of what has happened to us. My children and I were not, because I didn't allow that to happen. That is something that has happened, but we have used that to fuel ourselves for better.
That's an interesting perspective because not everyone could reflect in that way. We are not
No,
victims.
no, I
Can you
don't.
expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I hear far too often that life happens to people, and instead of happening for them and with them, and it's everybody else's fault. They have that victim mentality. I didn't want people looking at my children going, "Oh, there's that poor child who's lost their mother," or me or people looking at me going, "Oh, there's that poor guy who's lost his wife. He's now a widower with two very young children." That just doesn't sit with me at all, to have that victim mentality. It is not a place where I think anything ever grows. It just seems to just rot away. When you look at people who have that type of mentality, you can see that it's everybody else's fault. It's the world's fault. Everything else is against them. But they don't see the common denominator as themselves. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't. We had been through enough without me having to turn into a victim. And I didn't want my children turning into victims either.
Hmm.
So we don't allow that to be even used as an excuse for anything, for any sort of bad happenings that might happen. Yes, it is a reason, and yes, there are a reason, and yes, it did happen. But we can't. Let me try to explain this a different way. It's like them saying, "Well, I don't want to go to school today because I lost my mother." To me, that's the very essence of a victim mentality. To me, it's almost like saying, "I'm going to use this as an excuse not to do something." Whereas the way I look at it and the way I've brought up my children is, we look at this as a reason to do good, to do something more, because we just don't know how long we have left. And time is the one thing that you can never get back once it's gone.
How do you, I suppose, how do you sort of strike a good balance between the shock of the change and you say, I just need to be do as little as possible, day off school, day on the couch, do whatever, and then but also then trying to repurpose that energy in a constructive way. I mean, how do you balance that? Is that time? Is that understanding? Is it what?
It's all of what you just said. It is time and it is understanding, to the point where I knew that I was going to struggle bringing up my children on my own and being able to talk to them on my own. And I went away and trained as a counselor because I wanted to have the listening skills and the understanding that would help support them in their future. A lot of who I am right now is because of that event, is because of that day, and because of that happening. My eldest son is autistic and he communicates very differently.
Mhm.
So just to understand his communication, I had to go away and learn how to communicate differently. I had to learn how to listen deeper to what's not being said. I had to go away and learn how to read body language like it was an interrogator, because of his non-verbal cues, that you have to pick up on the nuances of his change in mood. I had to go away and be more than just a father. And I mean, I know other people will just go, "Well, this happened, woe is me," and the kids are the way they are because of that happening. But I made a very, very conscious decision that that would not be the case. It would not be the case.
Where did that come from for you? Because I mean, it's a very positive and constructive outlook. Is that something you were brought up with? Is that something you learned? Is it, and your responses, were you surprised at all in any way how you responded to this? Or
No, I wasn't surprised in the response. I knew that I was I was surprised in the philosophy of the response. To say the least, I didn't realize I had that in me to really push to that. But it was more so, was I surprised? Was I brought up with this? Probably brought up with it. And for good, very strong parents who talked to you and listened to you and sort of brought you up in the right way, the healthy amount of fear and respect that any good parent should have. Well, that's what I was brought up with. You knew what was right and wrong, you knew your boundaries, but you were always encouraged. Always, always, always encouraged. And I parent differently, slightly differently than what my parents had parented me. But I do that because of my experiences, and they did their parenting because of their experiences, and so on and so on. But I've looked into a lot more. I trained as a behavioral analyst so that I could understand my children at a real deep level. I trained as an NLP practitioner so I could communicate with them. And what has happened out of all of this is that I have created two businesses that help support people, not who have lost people, not that I know of, but to help them communicate at such a level that they didn't realize they could. It just, I don't understand one thing though. I don't understand why we had to lose Sarah to get to here, for me to get to here. Now, I know that's maybe the wrong way of looking at it. It's not that I would maybe never have got to here, which more than likely I probably wouldn't have because there was no need for me to get to here. But I'd always still, there's always a guilt. There's always a little guilt to say, well, you know, would I be where I am if she was still here? Probably not. Probably not. Would that have been a problem? Probably not. What do you say when you know different, you do different?
as you say that, I just think of the Gwyneth Paltrow sliding doors.
You'll have to explain
Diff-
that, but I'm very young. You have to explain that one to me.
Show my age. Back in the 19 something, yeah. The sliding doors basically being an event happens, but you she makes the train, she doesn't make the train, produces different outcomes or different circumstances, let's say. But ultimately, the ending, the next phase is actually the same.
Oh, okay.
It just different roads lead different places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie, whatever.
Yeah.
But and again, I do think we all run multiple different types of lives with different scenarios and different circumstances, but underneath it all, we're still the same people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
What it's maybe a hard one to answer, but what did you do right that day and what did you do wrong? Not wrong, but what would you do different, let's say?
What would I do different? Let's start with what I think I done right on that day. I was there. I was present. But being present, I was also in a lot of pain, mentally and physically, because spiritually as well, the losing someone and having to tell children that they will never see their mother again is a it's a heart-wrenching moment. It's a real heart-wrenching moment, but if I could have disassociated myself from that, I probably would have. Oh no, but I was glad I didn't because I needed to be present for them. I needed to hear them. I needed to feel their little hearts racing as they squeezed me tight. I needed to be present for that moment. Had I not been present for that moment, my children wouldn't be as they are today, probably. And that was the start of it. What would I have done differently? Honestly, I have no idea because I don't even know for the majority of it what was going on. Maybe, did I want to be more present after that moment? I don't know because I was drained of everything. I'd said goodbye to my wife. I made a promise to her that the kids will be absolutely okay the night before, and then had to tell my children that their mother would is away to heaven and they'll never see her again. That was tough. So I was emotionally drained. I was physically exhausted. I was in pain from lack of sleep. Yeah, it was a tough couple of days. Tough couple of days. And you're trying to put a brave face on for the kids, but I couldn't. I couldn't put a brave face on, so I just was my I was just myself. I was broken. So I wanted them to know that it was okay to cry. So I cried with them.
Hmm. I suppose it's that, what I hear is that ability just to be present as much as you can't be present, as much as, your body is almost disassociated, but also just saying, taking that time,
Yeah.
taking that moment to reflect and be patient and be present.
Yeah. It's weird because I think about that time often. Any times that I sort of have any self-doubt whatsoever, I will just remember back to that time and think, if you can do that, you can do anything. And sometimes there are a lot of people who need that sort of grounding moment to say, well, if you could do that, if you get through that, you can absolutely do anything. There's nothing that can hold you back. I almost feel that is, I suppose, as well as other things, drive me, but almost give me that allowance to go, just get on with it. You know, don't hold yourself back. Get on with it. This is weird. I never really have spoken about this before.
Thank you. Can I ask why you didn't speak about it before?
It's too hard. It's too
Mhm.
hard. Do you think that I want people to see me as the victim? Absolutely not. There are people out there that don't even know that my wife had passed away because I don't want them to see me as that, oh, poor him. That is not what I want. I would actually get more annoyed at that than I would at someone not saying it
Why?
because I am not a victim.
But you
I
are a widow.
choose. No, I'm not. No, something has happened to me. That doesn't make me a victim. It's the perception of the perspective of the situation that'll make you a victim or not. I chose. I was very conscious of my choice that I was not going to be a victim, and I was not going to let the situation continue to destroy me or my family. That was a very conscious choice I made,
Hmm.
and no one can tell me really differently if that's right or wrong, but it's right for me and it's right for my family, and it has served me in good stead because taking that stance has allowed me to be me, warts and all. But there are some individuals that it's just like I don't even I think some individuals I don't feel are even worthy to hear the story. And I try not to even associate myself with those people. The people that know me well know this story, and the ones that don't, either I haven't told them it yet, or I don't feel them worthy to receive it yet. And that's my choice. And I know that might sound a little bit arrogant, but it's my story, and I choose who to tell,
Hmm.
which is ironic because I'm telling everybody right now. But I just feel that it is time. I feel it's time to share the story. I want people to understand that it's okay to go through this. It's okay to feel like you can't, but it's okay to continue to keep going because life will leave you behind. If you stop, life is going to leave you behind. I'm okay for standing and smelling the roses in the moment and enjoying every moment that happens. But it's also about making sure that you're planning, you're preparing for yourself for the future and your children and your family, and ensuring that they have either what you have or better. I know some people think of, it's all about the money and it's all about the status and it's all about the symbolization of what you do and so on and so forth. But it's not for me. I'm a father and a husband foremost, and I'm everything else after that.
Hmm.
But that event changed me as a person. It changed my future and it changed how I even talk, which is strange. I just wanted to be better, wanted to be more. And when I say changed how I talked, it was because of all of the knowledge I was consuming quite quickly, because I wanted to understand how I could be a better father for my children. So I needed to learn. I don't find learning easy. I didn't find learning easy, but it was greater than me. The purpose was greater than me. And they always say when you have a why, the how will take care of itself. And I agree. I am living proof of that. Living proof.
What's the one thing you'd want people to take away today?
That we go through some tough times, but we get through them. And it's a choice. It's your choice. You can either decide to let it define who you are in a negative way, or you can let it define who you are in a positive way. But it's a choice. Everything you do is a choice. So that's the one thing I would like people to take away. You choose how you perceive a situation. You choose how you behave. You choose how you react or act. It's a choice. So don't be reactive. Make a choice.
Kevin, I can't thank you enough for sharing that today and just, I suppose, being open and honest. And I think that will resonate with a lot of people.
I hope so, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going through hard times right now.
Hmm.
And, if my pain and my suffering, but also my journey helps bring them some sort of hope for a better future, then I want to say it's worth going through it. It's not, but I want to say it. But it's a secondary benefit of having been through it.
Does that saying ring true for you? If what doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
Most definitely. Most
Mm.
definitely. It made me a different person.
Mm.
Made me a better person. Made me a much better person. I'm much more understanding. I'm much more patient. I'm less reactive. I'm, yeah, it's made me the type of person I would like to hang around with.
Yeah, that's almost the meaning of life, right?
Yeah, yeah. I get great enjoyment and fulfillment out of what I do. I suppose in a way I have Sarah and the kids to thank for that, for me being where I am right now, which is a very weird, strange thing to say.
But that's a choice, right?
It's a choice.
Yeah,
Everything's a choice. Even when we choose not to choose, it's still a choice.
absolutely. I will let you close up on your episode and your journey today. So thank you for having the opportunity and giving me the opportunity to be here with you today. So until the next time.
Well, Pete, thank you very much. As always, a gracious host and probing questions galore to really get to below that surface of the guest. And you did that very well. But you did that with real um not ease. Ease is the wrong word. You were very gentle with it. You were very gentle with it, and I appreciate that because it's a very sensitive subject. And I'm hoping that by doing this and by me being the first on the podcast show to do this, that people will want to share their story with us. I would like people to come on and share their worst day ever so that we can have a conversation about it and maybe get some sort of release or relief or even a few comments from people in the comment section. I just think that this is quite therapeutic, but it's also hopefully helpful to lots of people who are listening to it. So, Pete, thank you very much for today. Folks, if you want to come on to the show, you can give me a DM or hit me up in the comments below. But until next time, be safe and be good, and listen out for the next episode.